Hi friends, my name is Kayla Rayne, and today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review of the Cahill Witch Chronicles, which is a really awesome trilogy by Jessica Spotswood. So the Cahill Witch Chronicles is a trilogy that includes 3 books, all including Born Wicked, Star Cursed, and finally Sister's Fate, all by Jessica Spotswood. I recently buddy read Born Wicked with Caitlin over from Book Chats, and this entire trilogy came really highly recommended by Trina from Between Chapters, and after I finished the first book, I immediately ordered the next 2 in the trilogy, and when I got them, I started to read them, and I finished the trilogy, and I just knew I had to make a video to review the entire trilogy and just talk about it, and really discuss some of its strengths, and some of the reasons that I think you guys should pick up this trilogy and fall in love with it and be heartbroken like I was. So, the Cahill Witch Chronicles follow the main character, Kate Cahill, who is the oldest sister of the Cahill sisters. There are 3 of them, and they live in a patriarchal society that is an alternate history in the United States where the Brotherhood reigns supreme, and the Brotherhood is very much against women. They think they are wicked and sinful, and they have a government that suppresses women and definitely elevates men of power and makes it very, very difficult for a woman to be able to have any type of independence. So pretty much the only 2 options that a woman has in this society is to get married or join the sisterhood, where she could become a nun and devote her life to the Lord. This is a very religious society, and another part of this society is that they are very against witches, and being a witch is actually illegal, and you're either sent to an insane asylum or a prison ship where you will have to spend the rest of your days in slavery or medical submission. And it's just a really terrible society for women in general, and it's a really terrible society for witches. This book follows Kate and her 3 sisters because they have found themselves a part of a prophecy that has stated that they will either lead women from this oppression, or they will bring a new reign of terror down on the witches that are still surviving within this government. And this is the main theme through all 3 of the books, which brings me to my first strength about this series, which is of course how well it flows together. As I stated before, the main theme that is in all 3 of these books, the main plotline that we follow, is the prophecy, and this is something that is evident in book 1, book 2, and book 3, and I think that that made it flow together so well and just so beautifully, because in book 3, we see mention of things that happen in book 1 that are still relevant and still building on each other, and this trilogy as a whole built on each book so well to have this really satisfying storyline. And that is another strength that I have to point out, is the fact that even though it is one major plot that runs through, each book has its own subplots, which make them each very distinct, very different from each other, and just so interesting. I really enjoyed how each book had its own problems brought to the table, along with the overarching problem that we're working towards for the conclusion. And I just really adore the way that Jessica Spotswood put everything together. It was stunning, beautiful, and I love her storytelling now. I was just so enamored with the way that she told the story. I just wanted more. Another strength to the series that I absolutely adored was the character development. Every single character in this book series had their flaws, they had their triumphs, they were just so well developed. They weren't flat characters at all, which is something that is very important to me in a book series. And usually if the main characters and the side characters are well developed, some of the minor characters, if they're not so well developed, that's not something that bothered me. But Jessica Spotswood paid such fantastic attention to detail, and every single character was able to have their moment to shine. They all contributed something to the plotline and were just really fantastic, and I just loved the way that Jessica Spotswood planned that out so carefully and so wonderfully that they were all important. They all had their mistakes that happened, they all had their triumphs, and they were all able to come together and share those or fight for them. And of course, I can't talk about this trilogy without talking about the swooniest of swoony romances I think I have ever read. I have never had a fictional crush before. I've never looked at a fictional character and been like, oh my gosh, like, wow. But Finn, oh my gosh, Jessica Spotswood writes such fantastic relationships, and not just Finn and Kate, but also other relationships that were in the book were just so well developed, romantic and platonic. I really loved them. They were so fantastic, and I liked the way that they built on each other. They weren't just instant romances or instant friendships or alliances. trust had to be built, relationships had to be established, and just the way everything just unfolded was just perfection to me, and I really, really loved it. And the final reason that I think you guys should definitely pick up this trilogy and just really fall in love with it is just the fact that this trilogy speaks so much to some of the situations that we have today. It is definitely a pro-feminism novel, but it talks about some of the issues and some of the strengths that we have with the movement that we're facing today, and it doesn't necessarily demonize one particular side. It looks at the strengths of both sides, it looks at the individual people, and I think that Jessica Spotswood did such a great job of navigating this particular topic, which can sometimes be difficult to talk about, and I think Jessica Spotswood did just a fantastic job about introducing feminism into this historical fiction world and made it relevant for today. Overall, I loved this series. The first book I gave a 4 out of 5 stars, and the second and third book I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely love this as a trilogy together, and I think that you guys should definitely check it out, especially if you like historical fiction with a fantasy element to it. This is just a fantastic, fantastic trilogy. Cannot recommend it enough. That is it for today's video. If you would like to keep up with what I'm reading, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram and also Goodreads, and I'll leave all that information in the down bar below, and I would love to have a conversation with you on there. So if you want to follow me and check me out, that would be awesome. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay weird.